So welcome everyone. We are going to start very soon. Some people are still coming in. So I am Sciortino. I am the founder and director of Junction, and Junction is the place that you see, basically a venue focusing on Southeast Asia. All kind of issue related to Southeast Asia, as you can see from the exhibition that we have currently. We start with the comics on the 5th floor, Bangkok comics, then we discuss issue of gender and all male panels here on the 4th floor, and then what we are going to discuss today is the photo exhibition on the 3rd floor that focus on issue related to who cares is the title, meaning people who have not been reached by effort to provide support during COVID. And the photography you will see the socio-economic impacts of COVID. So COVID may be gone, or at least we pretend it's gone, although people still get infected, but the impact are still here, and there are still many people that have been impacted by the pandemic, so increased level of deaths, as well increased poverty and many other issues, as you can see from the photograph downstairs. We are very lucky to have a very interesting panel, because rarely photographer will talk, but today they will make an effort to tell us more about their experience and perspective during the pandemic, as well as the perspective that you see a voice for disadvantaged groups. So we have here from Malaysia, Philippines, Indonesia, and Thailand. And unfortunately, the two other photographers from Singapore and Myanmar could not be present today for various reasons. So we will start with Hasnoor Hussain. He's a quite famous photographer from Malaysia, working with Reuters, and he will tell us something first. The first round is just them telling us what they want, and then we will do some question about the perspective and the experience. So please.
Hello, hi. My name is Hasnoor. I'm a photographer from Malaysia, based in KL. During the pandemic, I was working with a local news portal, and then with other NGO institutions, then documenting, reporting about COVID, especially in marginalized group. Since I'm focusing on marginalized group because of most of common people, they were reported by my friends, my colleagues. So I'm looking for marginalized groups, since no one's really cared, especially during COVID and the rise of racism, the rise of xenophobia. So I'm taking the responsibility to reporting on them, the refugee, the stateless, and then urban poor. So their voice, their sorrow, their sufferings during facing the pandemic could be dealt to outside world, outside the circle.
So this is the first statement. We are going to have more comments later on, but please, first Philippines. Kimberly, I met Kimberly when she was working on the drugs war in the Philippines. As you know, many people have been unjustly killed during the previous president Duterte and his war on drugs, which is still continuing, unfortunately, although at a lower level. So please, Kimberly.
Hi, my name is Kimberly de la Cruz. I'm a freelance photographer based in Manila in the Philippines. So my focus on the photos that you see on the 3rd floor is about the urban poor in the Philippines. So during the pandemic, despite billions of pesos in aid, the urban poor suffered more. Like the commute in the Philippines became limited due to policies enacted by the government during the pandemic. So most people can go to work. A lot of people lost their jobs, so most of them had to rely on aid, both public and private endeavors. People line up for hours just for a few kilos of rice and canned goods. So yeah.
Okay. Edy Susanto. Again, he has a history of exposing sensitive issue in Indonesia, particularly with regard to minorities group and discrimination of minority groups in Indonesia.
Hello, thank you for having me today. I'm Edy Susanto. I'm a freelance photographer based in Jakarta, Indonesia. My focus in my work tonight is the first basis of the COVID-19 because I think there is a lot of severe impact, the economic impact, especially due to the pandemic to the community.
Very short. I thought you had written something down. Maybe you want to read what you had written later on? Okay. Sayan?
Hello everyone, thank you for joining today. I'm Sayan. I'm photographed the photo during the COVID time at exhibition for Thailand the first fall. And also I am the part of the exhibition, so I see all the photo from every country. So that made me think that it's really interesting exhibition. At first, Dr. Leader asked me to join this project to make a book and exhibition. I think it's really interesting project because I asked myself at that time that I see a lot of photos and I see a lot of information about COVID, but all is from from US, from European, from Europe, from China, from Japan, but I didn't see much from the neighborhood country in this region. I don't know why, maybe because the media just focus it on the big country or on the big situation. So that's why I think this project is really interesting because I can now see what happened all around in this region. It's very interesting. We face the same situation and we had a different way to deal with it. So maybe if you see the exhibition, already you can see that it's really different way and different how we dealing with the COVID situation.
I should say that Sayan is also the curator of the exhibition. So together with me, we have worked quite closely together. Probably it's already bored about working with me, but I think the result is worth. And the selection of the picture is always the most difficult part, and then also my ambition to put as many pictures as possible into the exhibition because they were quite beautiful, and of course that's quite challenging considering the space. So I want to also clarify this is part of a research project. So this started as a research project on social protection issue in Southeast Asia, 6 countries of Southeast Asia, during the pandemic, which was funded by the Thai Research Fund in collaboration with Mahidol University Institute for Population and Social Research. And we had the idea that besides text and interview, we also wanted to have visual documentation of what were the impacts of the pandemic. So it started as that idea, and luckily the Thai Research Fund was willing to fund as part of visual documentation of the research, but not the exhibition part that was added later on, because that is not research according to the standard. But I think it's extremely important to communicate to a more general public so that the research results are not only in a book which has been printed, is there, but for a general public. I think this is much more effective. But let's go back to our photographer. Maybe this round you can tell what is the experience, what was the difficulties of taking pictures during COVID, and how did you overcome those difficulties?
The difficult part during the pandemic is to get access, and then one thing to get access is people need to isolate themselves from spreading the virus. That's the first thing, and then the second thing is second thing is on finance, on budget. Since we can, most of my reporting was in KL, in Kuala Lumpur. It's more like Kuala Lumpur centric, not outside Kuala Lumpur. Since it's tight budget, and then we can't travel, so a lot of voice outside Kuala Lumpur we can't help, and then it's so the indigenous people, stateless in Borneo side, and migrant workers live in vacation outside KL, their voice not reached to their mass. So that's one. That's the second part, second challenge for me. And then third, to get information, to get detail, to get data from government is quite difficult. It's not accessible to public, so we can't really know where the hotspot, where to go. So it's difficult for me to know, to plan my coverage during the pandemic.
Kimberly?
So during the pandemic, like the security protocols also has been evolving. So like while I was covering the pandemic, like I have to calibrate all the time how to safely cover the topics that I want to cover, and to also protect the subjects that I'm documenting. We have different kinds of lockdown, but Manila has the longest lockdown in the world, and we're the second to the last country to have face-to-face classes. So it was difficult because, like as I said before, commute was restricted. At first there was different limitations to mobility. So like I had to cover what is closer to my house, and at the same time like mind my own health restrictions because I don't want to get COVID. I didn't want to get COVID, so I had to protect myself. And I don't want to be the carrier of the virus as well. So that was, I think, the most difficult part of it, to always think about your personal safety and the safety of the people you're documenting.
Since the beginning of the COVID in Indonesia, just like any other photographers around the world, I was always been on the street to cover the pandemic. But the other part is I saw many times people die on the and buried in the COVID cemetery in Jakarta, and then the other part is I have to protect myself, just like Kimberly, not to be carried to the family. Even I have to take care of my father that COVID twice. Yeah, and then the second wave, all of my family got COVID, and then the last time when I'm doing this project, I got COVID But thank God everything is fine now, and I think it's the hardest part is I met many people cannot doing his business because the pandemic, and I met many community that cannot pay the rent because they got laid off and they have to change the profession or something like that. That's the hardest part for me.
To be fair, I think I have to say that the COVID was new at that time, so nobody know about the COVID, right? That's why everything that every system was failed. That I still need to say that the state is failed because at that time, the government planted some fear in the mind of people, but they didn't give the instruction for the people how to deal with the COVID. We just know that we just fear that the government said like that. So for my photo to exhibit here, maybe you can see that the leading photo is the monk who wear the PPE suit. That I shoot that picture because I want to say that the people who didn't expect it to be to do something like that, he had to do it because nobody else, because the state, the government, the organization couldn't help the people, couldn't give the support to the people. So I think that photo can tell the situation at that time or the situation of that time. Yes, and on that day is the Asarahapusha Day, is one of the important day for Buddhists, and so in normal time. The monk, his name is Maha Pongpong. In normal time, he will celebrate the day. Yeah, he like to pray and with the people, with the Buddhists, he celebrate the day like they lighting up the candle and praying at the temple. But in that time, he decided to cancel it. It's not really not normal, really not normal because it's like I said, it's one of the important day for Buddhists. He just canceled it and he put the PPE suit on himself with the mask and he walked around the community, around the temple, to give help to the people and to give the food, to give support because the people in that area cannot access to the government help. Yes, and for me at that time I'm like the most of people I fear of the COVID, and I didn't have vaccine yet. That day I went to see him. He just gave me the PPE suit and told me that put it on, just follow me, and I just follow him into the community, and that's even I live in Bangkok mostly of my life, but at that time he took me to the area that I didn't see before. Yes, it's so it's a community that a lot of people like slum and immigrant worker, the quality of life is really low, even in the normal time. But and then in the COVID time, they suffer very much with that situation. So I think COVID has the COVID bring us to another aspect that we didn't see before. Yeah, maybe it's like in the another aspect that we never imagined that happened in the nearby neighbors, something like that. Yeah.
This photograph, I think, is the community that Sayan is talking about. This one is very interesting to me because I thought initially that the people in the tent were the COVID isolated people in a low-income area. But actually, that is the only one that was not infected. So the family was inside with all infected cases, and they had to put the non-infected in a tent because no space. And the other one, also very strong image, I think, is show how this idea of social distance, etc., doesn't make sense in a setting where you have no space. And I think you can see this also in the photograph of Kimberly, in the photograph of Edy. You can see when you have very crowded space where you cannot keep social distance or work from home. So those kind of measures become irrelevant while it was for everyone the same kind of measure, but how to apply it. So that you can see very clearly also in the exhibition below. Now I start from Sayan, we'll go the other way. So the fear was there, the fear of COVID, but still you were willing to go and expose yourself, you all were willing to go. So what was that motivated you to do it? It seems also with little money. So what was it really that inspired you? Even before we involved you in this project, you were already doing it. It's not that you start because there was the project.
Actually, I was in the lockdown time, like 1 month. I had nothing to do in my room. So I just, went out to explore that what happened really. Yes, and I see in the media, I see from the newspaper, from Facebook or something that the situation is really bad. But in that time, in Bangkok, they got a curfew time. You cannot leave the house at night. Yeah, so to contain the COVID, right? So I just want to see it myself that what really happened. Like I said before, that the monk took me to the area that I never been before, even I live here. Yeah, something like I never know what really happened in Bangkok. Yeah. You see the photo, like the people in the tent and the old man that suffering from the COVID in the little small room. Actually, that space is in the middle of downtown. Just like you walk just like 50 meters, you can see the 50 tall building all around you. So that space is high inside the downtown of the Bangkok. That's why I like to take the photo of the people that to see that what really happened in that time. Yeah.
Curiosity. Okay, now what was your apa yang menimbulkan Anda pergi?
I think it's my motivation to covering the pandemic is COVID is one of episode that part of human history, and of course since the beginning I'm always talk about the economic effect of this pandemic. And the condition is getting worse when the large scale social restrictions set by our government. So people were prohibited to going outside when the store being closed, and then we cannot pay any rent. We don't have money. So even me as a photojournalist, many works are being postponed. So I think I have to go out and risk myself to find any other way to make a picture, and then yeah, there is like Sayan, maybe there is nothing much to do, but I think I have to documenting this matter.
Actually, as I also, the first approach, why I approached him because of a series of photographs about these cemeteries. So Jakarta had 4 cemeteries which were exclusively for COVID victims, and the number was, of course, the government was not giving the real number, but people were counting how many people were buried in that cemetery, and he took a lot of those. Maybe you can tell us.
Yeah. I remember when I photographed the COVID cemetery, I have to take shower in the area of COVID cemetery because I don't want to be carried to my family. So I have to rent a small place with my friend, colleague, is a cameraman. So I have to stay there almost a month then, and then I have the courage to come back home. So I think I don't want to be carried to my family. Yeah.
Jakarta was very high level. Actually, during Delta, it arrived to be on the apex of all global statistics. So yes, it's the country in Southeast Asia with the largest number. Also the largest prevalence of infected people who died. So it's really a record, including health personnel percentage is extremely high. So Kimberly, what motivated you?
What motivated me was, I think, during the pandemic, I was just angry at my government. I was just angry at my government for the lack of response. Despite the billion of pesos of funding, people are going hungry. Like hunger was a pressing issue towards impoverished communities. So that's my motivation. Like there was government aid, but it was not enough. So private institutions and private individuals has to step up and deliver aid, so you can see that in my photos. And also, like, as we were talking yesterday, that like, nobody wants to talk about poverty anymore, but it's there, like, we cannot ignore it, and they're the most vulnerable aspect of our society.
But the one we use as poster for this event is a photograph, and is, I think, symbolic in terms of giving aid to people. And her photograph, look, you will see there is an emphasis on this aid by NGOs and civil society group or community group. It's very strong in the Philippines, as well as the presence of hunger, food. Food was lacking because the lockdown took almost 2 years, basically. So it was really the longest in the world. So Malaysia, what stimulates you or motivate you to go?
I feel that it is my responsibility to tell people's story, since it's a privilege it's a privilege to move around. And as a media practitioner, I have the privilege to move around, but the rest, they can't, they have to stay at their home. But then some of them, yeah, they stay at home but no work, no food. And then sometimes because of their migrant workers, undocumented migrant workers, they are refugee, Indonesian knowledge refugee, so they're being arrested, they're sent to deportation center. But if I'm not going out, capture their story, take their photos, who's gonna tell their story? So who's gonna fight for them?
cover of this catalog, but also of the exhibition. That is from Malaysia, that is photograph, and that is very clearly mostly Rohingya refugees who at the last day of this 14 days lockdown period were arrested, more than 1,300 people if I remember correctly. And the issue of arresting of migrants, refugees has been all over the countries of Southeast Asia, the destination country, Thailand, Singapore, Malaysia, they all behaved very similarly in the way they treated migrants and refugees or people without a permit. Basically, they locked them down and sealed them into their dormitories or they're living, even in Thailand, construction worker and other low-income workers were closed. But of course, people in Ekamai, which was the second wave of COVID, caused by bars and very IP person, that no one was locked up, was not closed. So very double standard treatment, and this is in the book as well as in the photography, as you can see. Yes, please.
Usually, the refugee migrant workers, minority groups, they don't have the comfortable that we have rooms, but they share room. They in crowded room, maybe in a house. They stay with 3 families, 4 families, and then so it's easy for the virus separated among them. So the government will lock down the area because high case of COVID, and then government will go down the area for at least 14 days during the COVID incubations, and then it was taken in 2 days. They don't have food, but friends, family live outside the area will send food. They put barbed wire like a war area, and then friends will go provide food. But then they have to be really careful to avoid from authorities from arrest them. And then this was on the last day, on the 14 days of the lockdown, and then around 1,300 was arrested on that day. It's not only one single case, but then for me, I know if any area that will any area important, then on the last day, the authority will come and arrest them.
And we can see migrants photograph also in Chiang Mai, migrants from Sayan photograph in downstairs. You will see maybe Sayan, but basically it's a factory, and then they isolate within the factory, and when they are get well, then they are sent out. They are no longer employed in the factory. So they lose their job basically after, and you can again read it. But I want to go to another question about, so it seems that you are really driven to, you care, right? I mean, you seem to care. So what is that made you care, not even before COVID? I know your photographic history, you often give voice to marginalized group or topics that are difficult. They are not necessarily the one that sell. So can you tell us more about the challenge of representing a marginalized voice in your profession beyond COVID in generally?
What make us, maybe you, maybe me, one day, refugee, because of our belief, which is might be right, might be wrong. So we don't want that might happen to ourselves, to our family. Then we try to avoid it. We need to tell the real story, to let people know what is the good value that they should hold. And not only during the pandemic, but after the pandemic or before the pandemic, the marginalized group is the victim, the scapegoat for any issue. Most of the people can't understand the economy, how economy works, how healthcare works. So the easiest way for them to blame the marginalized group is to blame the marginalized group, to blame migrant workers for taking their jobs, to blame refugees, to make small business at their area. But who's gonna speak for them? For instance, they face a lot of pressure. They not receive any aid from government, but for local, for citizens, we receive a lot. We can withdraw our pension scheme money from pension fund, but not for them. They not receive. They suddenly receive food. Maybe they receive food, but from NGO, not from the government, not from the authority. And then at least 70 migrant workers from Myanmar commit suicide during the pandemic. And then some of them arrested during the pandemic, then sent back to the Myanmar, which we understand this under military coups. Is it safe for them? No, actually it's not. Maybe they run away from Myanmar to seek refuge, to safety place, to avoid from they being arrested, they be tortured in Myanmar. But then we send back them from where they come.
And one moment more, because you also have different protests, photographs of different protests in your work. So not only the migrants, right, but there was also lack of support, or at least from. Can you tell us more about the protest, the Bendera Putih and Bendera Hitam?
To survive during the pandemic, government offered aid to the people, provide some educations, but then we survive on our family. People with privilege, with extra money, with extra food, come forward, give money, provide food, share their food. We come with slogan "Kita jaga kita," which means we take care ourselves. We don't need to rely on government. We don't need to rely from others, but we help each other. And that Bendera Putih or white flags is not a surrender, but then we seeking help from others. When we facing difficulties, we don't have food to serve on table, then we raise the white flags, usually just piece of clothes like t-shirts, to let our neighbor know that we don't have food during pandemic. So someone will step out and then provide food for us. Then we have protests. Yes, during the pandemic, we have government, but then during the pandemic, nation have three prime ministers. We don't have elections, but we have three prime ministers since one government over another government. So it's political. We have state elections, and then during the state election, after the state elections, it's straight new blackout, and then it give bad impact to the people. Since almost suddenly rise in case of the COVID case.
I think the election is very interesting, because if you see the photograph, you will see that there have been election in Singapore, election in Indonesia at the district level, election in Sabah, in Malaysia. So in spite of all this concern about COVID, in most country in Southeast Asia, they also had election, and of course they were also progressive. So there were large assemblement of people for religious reasons or for political reasons in the midst of all this social distance regulation, which is quite interesting to note. But let's go back to the original question of, as a photographer, even before COVID, you were concerned with the drug war and other difficult topics. What made you choose for those topics? I know you also do commercial ones, so what is the challenge there?
I believe that photography is a way to understand social issues. Like when I was covering the war on drugs, it was a way to understand what is happening in my country. And during the pandemic, it's a way of seeing what is currently happening beyond the news as I interpreted on the ground. Like, as I said, covering the urban poor, seeing how people line up for food, and looking at it from a privileged point of view that I won't spend 3 hours signing up for a few kilos of rice, but seeing people do that was heartbreaking, especially that, billions of pesos was allocated for funding for the pandemic response in my country. So there's that. And with other issues, it's my hope that somebody is looking at my photos and trying, and also seeing, when they look at my pictures, they understand what I'm trying to say about the issue. Like during this exhibition, I want them to look at my images. When the audience look at my images, I want them to see. Also, this pictures during the protest about the passing of the anti-terror law in the Philippines. It's in the middle of the pandemic and people are protesting about the anti-terror law. The anti-terror law gives the government power to arrest individuals they suspect of terrorism, but it's the meaning of terrorism in the government's language is vague, so they could arrest activists, NGO workers, student leaders, peasants under the anti-terror law. So it's amazing that people are protesting during the pandemic, but the law is passed and we have it in the Philippines.
And this? Mapapeduli.
Because I think I want to be people award seeing my picture about the Mahidol community. During the pandemic, I met a group of transgender. Yeah, they don't have any ID, so they cannot have any health insurance from the government. So and due to the pandemic, government set the ID in order to get AIDS when the pandemic came. Before that, they don't have any health insurance or anything. They don't have nothing. And then I went. The good thing is they arranged collecting money, but they never depending asking for help from the government before the ID. They arranged the event. They collecting the money for the elderly transgender, so they can have a better health insurance. They can go to the hospital, sick, they can buy a good food and then something like that.
This is the picture. Sayan?
I have to say first that in Thailand we got a big gap between the rich people and the poor people. Yeah, but in normal time maybe we cannot see it clearly. But the COVID uncovered this gap. Yeah, you can see like the photo of people suffering in the slum. At that time, I can recall that, like there is somebody talk like they enjoy the COVID time because they could support themselves. They have like they are rich, they have everything in their life. Somebody said on Facebook on social media like I like it because the street is empty. We don't have to suffer from the traffic jam, something like that. So I think it's really it can show that it's very big gap between the rich and the poor people. So as a photographer, I like to tell the story of the normal people. Yeah, to show how they live, how they that these people is living around us, but sometimes we just forget that how they live. So my picture want to tell that story, in the COVID time, how they support each other, how they take care of themselves, and how they survive without the support from the government. That's this one is a photo of the one family. You can see the irony is that the people, all of the members of his family were infected by COVID. Only the husband, the man that didn't. So they had to contain the member of all of the member of his family in the house. Yeah, and he is the one who he need to go out every day to get some food, water from donation, and bring back to the family. Yeah, this is what I talking about. Yeah, I like my photo want to tell what happened with the normal people. Yeah.
I should say something about Myanmar and Singapore because they are not here, unfortunately. But Myanmar, you will see, was not part of the region. We couldn't do the research in Myanmar because the coup happened. The research found place in 2021, so the coup happened. We couldn't go to Myanmar. But later we met this photographer who came to live in Thailand. And then he had photographed, and it shows very well how the political situation has influenced the pandemic in Myanmar, which the elections, of course Aung San Suu Kyi winning, and then the military taking over, and the Delta was totally uncontrolled, and because the hospitals were closed. The health professionals were doing their best, but not in the public hospital because they were demonstrating a civil disobedience movement. So they couldn't also operate because they could be arrested. So you can see really how it influenced the political drama that is still going on in Myanmar, has influenced the way the pandemic has played out. And the last photograph, I think, says it all, right? Someone with a mask confronting the military for the demonstration, which has gone up to today. Still, unfortunately, it's almost 3 years from the coup. So this is Myanmar. For Singapore, which everyone thinks is a rich country, the government has been very generous. There is no need there. Well, the photographer as well as the research shows that also there were groups that were left over. So we see that is the opposition winning. So opposition winning in Singapore means they have few seats more. I mean, it's not winning everything, but they did gain because people were unsatisfied also in Singapore about the way the pandemic was controlled. But the groups that really were affected were the elderly, who often are poor, are working poor. In Singapore, old people have to work, and so here we see again NGOs taking care of elderly people who could not receive enough support, and then we have the migrants again close in the dormitory. So these migrants has been closed in the dormitory up to end of 2022 and more. So they have been closed even after Singapore was no longer declared an emergency for the pandemic. Even if they were vaccinated, even if they had done exactly what the Singaporean citizen had done, they could not move. They had to stay in the dormitory, go to work, come back to the dormitory, and the dormitory are not nice places. Again, many people in a room. So, of course, they also put people with COVID and without COVID together, not caring about whether they would get infected or not, so there is a very high incidence of the disease. So you can see even in a rich country, of course, sex worker and other groups were also marginalized. So that is what the photos say, what the book also, the research shows. The photographer did not work together with the researcher. They work on their own. So they were free to take the picture according to their own perspective, but clearly it can really converge with what was found by the researchers. So that is quite interesting. So I think this gives an overview of the exhibition and the book, and now I open the floor for any question you may have. Okay, we have Shamil, we have
Oh, that's okay.
okay, you know who you are. Okay, Shamil.
You? Hello, hi. Thank you for all your work and amazing photographer that is being displayed on the third floor. And I think you briefly talked about what you hope to share and the message that you hope to send through photographs. What I want to ask all of you is, this pandemic brings about a social division and the challenges that countries and states face in providing welfare and equality for its people, and it exacerbated the issues that exist in most Southeast Asian countries. So through showing your work and highlighting the inequality or the division that happened during this time, what do you hope would change, or do you think there would be any changes, no changes at all, and what do you hope would be put in action, I guess, after this? Thank you.
Hello. I wanted to ask you, the research that you've done and the photographs that you've produced are incredible. While you were doing this work, is there perhaps interaction with a certain person or a community organization? Did something stand out or surprise you in your mind? When I was looking over at the different photographs, the white shirt movement, for example, was something that stood out for me from Malaysia. I spent time in the Philippines, so the community pantries are something that I knew. Or, for example, the way rice that was being given out by politicians had their name on it. So you see the politicization. Is there something? Can you tell us what your personal standout picture or pictures might have been?
Any more questions? One more? Okay, thank you.
Well, sometimes it's difficult for people to remember what the initial question was. I have a comment and then a question. First of all, as somebody who, myself, I'm an anthropologist, but I'm also a photographer, and I want to say how impressive an exhibit this was. And also, one of the key things for a photographer is usually people's faces. The expression carries meaning. And COVID probably more than anything else, removed that possibility. And so, in so many of the pictures, I'm so impressed how you were able to convey feeling without being able to use facial expression. The other thing I would say is I did a lot of work on the HIV epidemic in Thailand. And I was in charge of all HIV projects for the region addressing minorities for UNESCO. And that dealing with an epidemic is itself a very difficult thing to document because you have to convey what's happening, but you also don't want to further stigmatize the groups that you're photographing. So I'd like any of you to talk about how you approached the balance between clear documentation and avoiding re-traumatizing and stigmatization. But again, I found this a very, very impressive exhibition.
Okay, so Sayan.
Actually, I have to say that I'm fearless at that time, where because like I didn't get the vaccine yet, but I had to go into that situation. So maybe the first time that I put myself on PPE suit and get into the COVID area that all the people got the COVID was the day that I went to see the man in my picture. I think he was the one who take away my fear. Yeah, because he didn't say anything to me. He just said that put the PPE suit on and follow me. I think he showed me. He didn't speak anything to me. He just showed me how to remove the fear. Yeah, because the people and the patient, the COVID patient waiting for his help and his support. So that is the first time I put myself on my the PPE suit. And after that, when I had to take the photo of this situation, I just forget anything because I have some motivation that I like to tell the story and the deep story. I went to the funeral. I followed the volunteer who support who give help to the people and I survived from COVID. I got COVID twice, but for my family, not for my work. So I think the motivation of the story, that the story of the people, of the normal people, bring me to that situation. And for the second question, it's about something like for my work. I like to share the story of the funeral. At that time, I went to one funeral. In the COVID, when people die from the COVID, they like to in Thailand. We burn the body. But we have like a 3 days, 7 days to give the people the chance, give their relative to say goodbye and come to join the funeral. And we have a monk praying and guiding the dead one to the afterlife. Normally we got 5 to 7 days, but during the COVID time, they just want to burn the body as soon as possible. So in the funeral that I went to, nobody there, just the monk and the people from the hospital. So it's very, very sad. I was crying when I didn't know them personally, but I was crying because the people got no chance to say goodbye, the last goodbye. Yes, but then I got anger because I think that why was being to this situation? Yeah, because at that time I think it's because they didn't get help quickly from the government, so the people die like every day. Comparing with this time, COVID, like just a normal thing. So I feel really sad and sorry for the dead people during the COVID time. Comparing to today, that we forget everything about the COVID. We live in the normal and we don't fear COVID anymore. But at that time, it's really sad. Yeah. So it comes to the first question. I think what we learned from that pandemic. Yes, a lot of questions waiting for the answer, but maybe for me, I go deep to that situation in Thailand, in the where people suffering from the COVID, but I don't have an clearly answer, but only the question remain that with the next one, I'm sure that this is not the last one. We will face another pandemic. Yeah, because we exploit the natural resource every day. The next pandemic will come in. So I think the question still remain a lot of question, but I feel like we didn't try to get the answer yet. Yeah, we just let them pass through and just forget it. Yep, that's in my opinion.
So you don't hope the government will do your picture and act? That was the question. Going to bring change? What you hope there will be change?
In that time, I see a lot of normal people come up to be someone else. I mean, the people you see next door, like every day, maybe they didn't do anything. They are unemployed and doing, and they race the car or motorcycle just for nonsense thing. But in the COVID time, there were a lot of volunteers, for the people, some people like that. So I think this one is very interesting because, they lose the faith in the government, in the state, so they came up to stand by themselves. But I just wonder when I went out and take the picture of them, of the volunteer and of the people the man in the picture, I just wonder where they disappear today. Yeah, I think this one is really interesting because maybe this one is a question that why not we doing give them the support and build them to be the routine volunteer to doing like this all the time, not only in the COVID time. Yeah, maybe the government can support them, can give them some budget, some money yeah, and hire them to do like a volunteer all the time, not for just the pandemic time.
Then, yes, please, Edy. So there were still the question whether you expect the photograph to bring some change, inspire people to bring change. And then, second question and the third question.
The first question is, I think is the good thing about the pandemic is the awareness of a community for taking each other is increasingly during the pandemic. People helping each other and then without depending on the government helping. And then I hope that my hope is there is no change after that, and we still caring each other, and it's happened now. I have an experience that when my family got COVID, and my neighbor is always texting me, what do you need? And then they find what we need, and then put it on our door. And then the second question is mostly my work is independent, and I never have any sponsors. I'm a journalist. Yeah. And then the third question is about the ethic. Mostly my work is documentary, and before I taking photographs, sometimes I'm doing approach first and talking with the people, especially the special community like transgender. Yeah, and I was hanging around with them a couple of times. And sometimes I just talking without taking any pictures, and just to be a good listener for them. And then when I'm taking the picture before I publish it, I always ask them permission. May I publish this picture? And then when they say okay, it's okay, I wrote them I make a news, and then I send them back. Is it okay with the news or with the caption or something, anything else? And they say okay, and then I go publish it.
For the first question, I think the lessons learned from COVID the pandemic is that like communities take care of each other. Like I think there is a sense of resilience there. But I hope that like the government doesn't go scot-free and like doing their responsibility and taking care of the people. Like we've seen it in like natural disasters that private endeavors react first or act first in providing aid. So I hope that like we don't forget that the government is responsible for providing care and aid. For the second question, I think what amazes me is the community that acts together and provides aid for the people. Like in the community pantries, it's amazing how it blossomed from one girl who organized her own community pantry, and then the whole nation has community pantries everywhere for 1 year, 2 years, I think. It was amazing that people could just line up and get food that they need for the day. For the third question, if it stigmatizes, I think there's a strong need for documentations for the future. So I think it comes first. Then, of course, doing the work ethically, asking for permission, making sure that the subjects in the photographs have still some dignity left in them when taking the photograph is important.
About hopes that changes. I hope no more pandemic after this, but during the pandemic, I hope this pandemic will reset our world. But actually, I'm wrong. It's not reset our world, but it's widened the gap. It's not closer the gap, but it's widened the gap. A lot of people during the pandemic, a lot of students don't have access to internet for online study, online class, and they drop out from school, they miss out from school, and then we have highest rate of school dropout in Malaysian history because of pandemic. That's one thing, and then stand up teachers, I don't think any of my teachers can really stand up. And then I don't think it gives really good impact. And then for if I'm not mistaken for ethics, I'm dealing with really sensitive subjects, migrant workers, minorities. There is few cases that when migrant workers speak to media, they've been arrested, sent back. One of the subjects sent back to his origin country, Bangladesh. Then we really need to protect our subject. We can't really expose their details. For instance, I have to take this picture from back to hide their identity. I don't want them to be arrested.
I think I don't want to, unless there are really pressing questions. I think this is very emotional already, so we can continue the conversation with some coffee, tea, no champagne this time. That was only David exhibition. So this time coffee, tea, and some food outside. You can continue the discussion on your way out. Please give a donation. It helps Junction. And tomorrow we will have another opening of another exhibition, which is on the all-male panels or manuals, which is a gender manifestation. So it's about gender representation in politics and decision making. That is going to be tomorrow at the same time. So we try to continue to have a good event, but please spread the news also about this exhibition. And if you are interested in the catalog and the book, they are also available outside. So a big applause for. Thank you also to IPSR, Institute for Population and Social Research. Here is my colleague from Mahidol University, which is our partner in the research as well as the exhibition, the book. And on the 25th, actually the Thai version of the book will be presented because we really want the Thai especially to read it, hopefully. So thank you very much again, and continue the conversation outside. Thank you.